thanks so much for having me here. And maybe Nicola, if you could just introduce yourself, and then Liam can introduce himself.
Absolutely, yeah. So my name is Nicola Bowes. I'm the founder of the Celtic Eye Art Group. So this is our gallery, Quiltig, where all our exhibitions take place and all the art by all the artists that have joined us on this journey over the past 3 years. Like, I live out here really in the middle of nowhere, as you can see, right beside a forest. I lived in England for years, and when I had my first 2 children, I said, that's it, going back home, back out to the country. It's the best place to be. It really, really is. There's great inspiration for anyone, isn't there, Liam? And it doesn't really matter what weather. Sometimes the weather isn't always great, but still the landscape, especially the karst landscape, looks different in every season. Yeah. It has something to give in every season, yeah. But most artists, I think, would take massive inspiration from what's surrounding them, their landscape, yeah, definitely.
Well, as you said, Nicola, art is in nature and nature is in art. Well, my name is Liam Day and I live on a family farm here in South Roscommon. And I'm very interested in biodiversity and history and heritage. When I was out with my father when I was a child, the farm, the landscape never matched anything I could read about or tap into. So when I got a bit older, I travelled to the Burn in County Clare. And my landscape looked like the Burn, but again, it didn't just match with what I was in Australia and I was on the Barrier Reef. And I've seen fossils with like much the same what we have, the coral. But I've seen them here in my landscape. So when I came back here, so I was doing a bit of research, and I came across a book called Karst, Eskers and Turlough, and it picks the area out as being unique in Ireland and maybe Europe. So we have a unique low-lying karst area here in South Roscommon. And sure, that was a light bulb moment. So we formed Karst Farming. Celtic Eye came on board, the local council, we had heritage officers out. So like, we've been on a real strive to highlight what a unique landscape is here in South Roscommon.
It was Liam that rang me a couple of years ago, because I'm actually from South Roscommon myself. So I would have been familiar with some parts of that landscape because of my grandparents who used to live there. So Liam just asked me, would I do a painting that would feature the landscape, the rocks, the hawthorn. I did this painting and I brought in Cuchulainn and Queen Maeve just to add a little bit of mythology to it as well. So actually that painting kind of become well known now through the group, hasn't it?
And can you tell me a little bit about some of the pieces that we have on display here?
Yeah, well, I was just actually telling you about this beautiful wood sculpture here. It's done by Kieran Jackson. So it's also based on the Ogham language, and all the names there that are done in the Ogham language are of the Celtic goddesses of Ireland.
What are the kind of main stories that you tell in the Celtic Art Group?
So with the Umina Kingdom project, it's all about biodiversity, nature, connecting it with the goddesses as you see there from our sign, nurture meets nature, and to do with water, heritage and folklore. So we bring the whole lot together.
Yeah, and who are the main goddesses that we can see here?
There's a lot of Celtic goddesses, but the particular ones on this sign is Shannon, so she's the goddess of the Shannon, Eru. So these are all paintings, which were then, dialogue was put with them. And they actually, when you QR code them, we have a QR code there, it brings you into TikTok or Facebook and YouTube, and they tell the story of themselves and of the landscape. So Eru, she's the Celtic goddess of Ireland. St. Bridget, we have Bawn here, who is the goddess of the River Boyne. You have Morrigan, and you have Cerridwen.
How did that process of narrowing down and selecting the goddesses go?
So obviously these paintings take a while, so they could take a couple of weeks, it could take a couple of months. And then all the dialogue, which I wrote myself, has to be done as well. And another member, who is Vinnie Glennon, did all the AI for this project. So we stuck to just the Celtic goddesses. Yeah. So we actually have more than that done, but for this sign, they were the ones that were done first. But we have a few more done, and they're up on our TikTok channel and on Facebook. as you were asking why we all came together, because you were working on it for a while before that. But I think not everyone wants to read, like you probably wouldn't stand there and read all this writing here. It's easier to QR code it and let the painting do the talking. So visually, these beautiful images of the landscape and the paintings, it catches that interest straight away. And that's what we've actually noticed. We've quite a few of these signs. We've been funded with these signs. So it's all about getting the message out there without too many words, you know. Let the images and the paintings and the poetry do the talking.
And it's not a theme park. We're not interested in walks and trails. It's actually a really important environment. So the whole idea is the signs is that you can see it without actually damaging it. Because if you put walks and trails, you could lose that landscape overnight. And as you can see, we'll be walking through this later on, this landscape. And like, it's all there.
It's magical, like wait till you go to see the woodlands, and it is beautiful. And I suppose the reason the three groups came together, it was really to highlight that this landscape existed and also to protect whatever was left of this landscape.
Yeah.
Because there's not that much of it left. Yeah, but even the report done by the ecologists there over the past year, I think 8 ecologists came into the landscape, and it's just a biodiversity heaven really in there.
And so you were telling me about some of the other groups you collaborate with, you know, from the social inclusion point of view. Maybe you can tell us again about those and the sort of artwork you've created alongside them.
So we're very lucky. We have a lot of artists that we collaborate with and a lot of artists that join us every year or maybe twice a year sometimes for exhibitions. But the two main organisations that work alongside us is the Irish Wheelchair Association and St Hilda's. And actually I have a piece here by the teacher, Sandy Hughes. So Sandy Hughes is the art teacher with St Hilda's, and this is her piece. So this is Morrigan. So Morrigan is a shapeshifter. So she transforms into another being. So this is based on the crow. And you can see there the detail, all the copper. And she's actually used kind of Celtic symbols as well. So that's her piece. Now, and her students then, it's all about social inclusion. And they're a great bunch of artists, aren't they, Liam? And they collaborate with us all the time. So on this particular, the last exhibition that we did was called Land of Legends. You'll see the orchid here. This is all Liam's landscape. Now they were all painted from photographs of the landscape that we took ourselves, and they were done by the Irish Wheelchair Association. And on a previous exhibition, you'll see this piece here, and the teacher involved with the Irish Wheelchair Association is also our herbalist and also a member of Celtic Eye, and her name is Paula Sharkey. And actually this is one of her own pieces here, Paula's. Beautiful. Yeah. Based on the landscape, people all getting together outside, immersed in nature. Yeah. It would take a few months for them to create something like this, and myself and you, Liam, went in a few times to meet them as well. So yeah, so it's tying in all of nature there really, and just it's a mixed media, so it's craft and it's paint as well. So it's tying in all the flowers, all the insects, the trees, bringing it all together. And it's based on a particular girl as well within the Irish Wheelchair Association, and her name is Sarah. So she was the main artist that worked on this piece. So that's her there.
And what's the next steps for the Celtic Eye Art Group?
We continue every day highlighting biodiversity, water, climate change, heritage and folklore. So we do that on our online group all the time. And at the minute we're working on a project now, St. Bridget. So tying her into the landscape, tying her into mythology and heritage. So we're doing that. We have a few other projects lined up. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about them, am I? I'm not sure yet. No. But we have a full schedule, and we're at the minute, we're doing a book. We did have highlighted that a few months ago before Christmas, and the book is called The Journey. So it's basically the journey of the Máíne Kingdom groups, the Carse Farming Group, Celtic Eye and Top Connell Hall over the past 3 years. But it's also a thank you from us to all the artists, because I've just highlighted there the Irish Wheelchair Association and St Hilda's. but there's a lot more artists that were involved in this project, and poets, dancers, singers, just people who came and helped us at exhibitions, walks, talks. There's a lot of people involved, and all volunteers. Yeah. And actually, as Celtic Eye, another part of what we do, we actually, as our group is made up of a core group of 13, but our online group is a lot more, is about 1,700 now, and then all the other people that aren't online with us, with like these organisations. But we travel around the country as well to all other different parts of the country to see what their landscape is like, and their heritage and folklore, And as beautiful as the images are, and the paintings and the poetry and everything, there's nothing like actually walking through it. Yeah. It is fantastic, yeah.
And there's more of that happening in Ireland, where people are starting to realise that actually bringing in the mythology, bringing in the art is going to connect to more people. And I suppose in terms of the story of the goddesses themselves, we've sort of spoken a little bit about them, or introduced who they are. But is there any story in particular that you feel really resonates with the Karst farm?
Oh, well, Liam loves telling the Queen Maeve, so go ahead.
Well, basically, Queen Maeve starts in North Roscommon, but the brown bull and the white bull of Connacht actually clash in South Roscommon, and because it's a dry lie, because that's where the cattle would have been housed for the winter. So there's real resonance why Karst and the Queen Maeve story all comes together, and like it's basically highlighting the importance of that Karst landscape, because the climax of the story is the dramatic, where the bulls clash, and they clash in South Roscommon, and it's there for anyone to read it. So if you read the whole Queen Maeve story, you come away with the essence of the story is how important the Karst landscape is. Yeah. And that's why Queen Maeve came to South Roscommon, because the cattle for the dry lie, because they couldn't survive in the lowland areas. This is where the cattle would have been wintered all through time. So
and she's very connected to Cooley, the Cooley Peninsula. We actually did a trip up there a few months ago up to see the Cooley Peninsula, and they have a great love for we have the painting upstairs of Queen Maeve, but they have a great love for her. Yeah, look, to me they're all very unique. I suppose we're coming into spring now, and St. Bridget's is very much associated with spring and fertility. Yes, and that's why we're working on all different pieces, even poetry. A lot of us do poetry as well.
And I suppose with St. Bridget and, the 1st February and the marking the spring, what would be the complementary things you'd look out for in the Karst landscape around that time? Or are you tying that into the work you're doing with St. Bridget?
So we have a patron in Bryce well, don't you know? So, and the water from the Karst goes to that well, supplies that well. So water is essential in our landscape. So the Karst landscape actually collects the water, and St. Bridget's well, again, the well highlights St. Bridget's, so it shows how important. We have two wells with St. Ronan's. So we have two wells with St. Ronan's and with St. Bridget, and it's all about the water.
And she was a healer. She was a healer, and a lot of the Karst landscape too would have lovely herbs that can be. Well, Paula would talk a lot more about that on the herbal side, that can be used, for medicinal purposes as well. So she's a great advocate for healing.
Yeah, the springs are a really big thing in the Karst landscape.
Because you're back into Turloughs again, because you're starting Turlough country. Yeah. So St. Bridget again, water come from the ground. Think how magical that would have looked back in the day. To get me, how could you have dry land and suddenly you have a lake the next day? So again, it all coming. They could hear the noise underneath the ground. So again, that the other world was in operation. To get me, So St. Bridget and all our gods, like all our stories, come from that mythology that there's an underworld. And
there is, and they're all connected. That's why I love them so much. They're all connected to the land, the landscape. They're all connected to nature, fertility, and they're all powerful. And they're trying to protect, they all want to protect the landscape, just like we do. And it's a great way to get a message across too, isn't it? As I said, it's not as easy to get it when you see it flashed up on the news, let's protect the Karst landscape. Not everyone, as you said, even knew about the Karst landscape. But when you see it through art, images, poetry, music, even Liam does a dance, it's great. This is a lady from Dublin. She did Rhiannon, the goddess Rhiannon. Here we have Queen Maeve, somebody else's interpretation of Queen Maeve. But again, it's tying it into nature. Most of our pieces are all based on nature, mythology, culture, heritage. Part of our work last year in tying in the landscape Actually, and tying in the Celtic goddesses, one of our group, Anne Hill, we did nearly a year project on St. Bridget's Garden. So Grow With Me Now. So Anne, you'll see it before and after, Anne transformed her whole garden into a usable garden that she sowed all her own fruits and veg, didn't she, and herbs. And we all then went a few months later and we had a gorgeous afternoon there, sampled all her produce from that. So we connected it there again with one of the goddesses. So you'll also see paintings here by lots of different artists. We have Queen Maeve, the Crow based on Morrigan, Eru, Morrigan here. They're the originals, are the ones that you would have seen downstairs on our sign. So tying in with the karst, this would be a place called Sky Valley. So Liam would tell you a little bit about the history of that. So that's the monastery that's in the karst landscape.
Beautiful.
There's a lot of pieces here. I'm just trying to pick out. This was a collage that was done over a year. So it was called Strive for Life.
Yeah.
And we done it online. And actually, I think I told you, Pippa Hackett, Minister Pippa Hackett, planted the first tree, which was donated to us by Sea Savers, and it was a Brian Boru tree, which was planted up on the karst landscape. And from that, then we had 2 exhibitions. So the first half of the year was encouraging people through our online group to preserve trees, plant trees, even if they lived in an apartment in America, because we have followers all around the world, to even if they only had a balcony, just to encourage everyone to plant something, to create biodiversity. And from that, then in the second half of the year, everyone sent their photos in. So that took a while. So then we got all those photos and printed them. And there's photos from all around the world that's put into this piece then, and it was a collage done, an encaustic piece done by Anne Hill then, after we gathered all the photographs. So there's a bit of everything in there, yeah. So along here is a lot of the goddesses again. So, well, she's not a goddess, but that's a powerful woman, Granuaile.
Oh, yeah.
We're big into the
name,
powerful women as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of and this was one done especially on the karst landscape. So I called her the karst queen. So she's immersed within the landscape, moss again. You have the woodlands, all the nature, the wildlife, the karst rock. So it's all tied into there. It's biodiversity, it's nature, it's mythology, culture, heritage, all linked together.
Yeah.
You know, if you bring all those things together, it's easier then to get that message across about the landscape. We've had 4 exhibitions over the last couple of years, and not just here.
Yeah.
We've had in another gallery as well in Ballinasloe. But we now do an awful lot through our signs, so we call it the pop-up story. So every time we do a project, we put you've seen 2 of the signs downstairs. We've done 7 altogether, haven't we? And we're going to be doing, there's 2 more lined up. So a lot of our work is displayed that way as well. And we do a lot online as well. We interact with a lot of people online.
Thanks so much, Nicola. It's been really brilliant just walking through this space. It's inspiring. I could feel like I could spend hours here.
And I think that's the important part, is you have to grasp that interest. You know, you have to get the people on board.
Yeah.
No artist pays to be here. We're delighted to have them.
Yeah.
And if it gets a message across, which is brilliant.
Full of bus to Nicola, because like to
Well, it's everyone. It's not just...
But to have it on display, like and that we can walk here today, it's really
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And our logo is, I'll probably end up with I like to always say end up with the logos, and I use it myself, and it is, our land is our canvas and its beauty is our palette.
There's actually a Triskel, so there's actually 3 groups: Top McConnell Hall, Karst Farm and Celtic Art Group, all come together under the banner Máíne Kingdom.
And the Triskel is unity.
Just before Christmas there, the FBD Better Farmer Awards. I want to thank FarmPEAT and Owen Finneran and everybody, Top McConnell and Celtic Eye, and we won the national award for biodiversity. Yeah. And like, it's outstanding to be recognised at a national level.
Yes.
And like, it's the work that's gone in all along, to get me. And that award is for everybody.
Yeah.
And I want to say thanks to Celtic Eye and Top McConnell Hall and FarmPEAT. So thanks very much, everybody. Well, we're going to be heading into a doling now, and we're going to be heading into a few different features. So we can take a few pictures, and we'll talk. So karst is basically small shells that have come together. So it's a very soft substance. When water hits karst, it melts it. So under all this landscape, there's massive lakes of water, and there's tunnels, and they can collapse, and they form dolines then, and they have their own microclimates.
What do you look out for in the landscape that will give you signs that it's a karst landscape?
Well, you see the open boulders displayed, and we're coming in. This is a cairn here. We reckon this is a burial site here. View. It's the biodiversity that we have here. Brendan Dunford said a mighty thing. He said, "Liam, it's not. It's what's under your foot."
Why is there such rich diversity of plants and mosses and lichens?
Yep. So this has never been ploughed or tilled like all the other landscapes. So we're basically in a very specific area here in South Roscommon, because in fairness now the soil is very resourceful here, because we haven't interfered with it. So the grass grows at its own rate, and it's very consistent because we're not forcing it, and our fungi underneath has not been interfered with. So it's able to supply the needs and wants for the food. And it's very rich soil because it's not ryegrass. We have a combination of a community of plants. So the cattle eat here, they do very well, do you get me? And they graze it as we've been grazed back in the day. Here's your white thorn, your black thorn trees. You don't get them growing like this in open countryside. They're being shoved into the walls. You never see a tree in its full glory. And it's also supplying the berries. Like, look at the berry store. This is the seed bank for South Roscommon. There's the berries. Essential for your birds, all your nature. And there's your water. So the water that falls here goes underground in fissures and lands out there in the Turlock. And that's the drinking water for the whole South Roscommon. So you have a very complex landscape. So you wouldn't be interfering with that. You'd be saying, like, this infrastructure is supplying drinking water. That's plenty of an infrastructure. Like, it really should be working with the local communities on.
Since the karst farming group was formed and the awareness of the farmers in the area has increased, have they changed practices such as, applying fertilisers, applying pesticides?
With the profile, that definitely people will be more conscious and more of an understanding of the value of what they have, do you get me? From a nature point of view, do you get me? Yeah. Because before this, like, it wasn't being highlighted in any shape or form at local or national level. So it took the community to start a real campaign of the value of the area. This is a walk through time here. Like, this is what medieval Ireland looked like. This should be in the National Museum. We have a very fast filter straight through because it's karst, so we have to be very conscious of what we do here. So in fairness now, and our farming practices have worked so we have to drink our own water here. So what we're doing is not interfering with our drinking water supply. But the danger will be that any other superstructures, infrastructure projects could have effects on this area. To get me to know, so like, you have to be very conscious of what you do in this karst landscape. Like, just look at the moss. Isn't it fabulous? We had over 50 different mosses identified here on a walkover.
And tell me more about the survey you did here on the farm recently. What sort of things were looked at and what were the main findings of the report?
Well, Linda Gleeson, she's a phenomenal ecologist. She came on board. So she basically, and she brought in several different ecologists. I think it was 5 or 6 different ecologists, and they all were top of their field. And we focused on our moss, we focused on our quadrats, on the hedgerows. So we got a really in-depth profile of what we have here. And we actually found a moss that was first time spotted in South Roscommon, and another one that was very rare. So like, there's a very detailed report there, and it's there for anyone to read, to get me through on the mosses. You hear on the radio constant, get rid of the moss out of your gardens. What will the birds build its nest out of? Some mosses have a very long lifespan, to get me through. So like, and this is what Ireland looked like. So we have, and our hazel, so you have it all going on here. This is the organic matter that feeds everything. So it's completely recycled, like the hazel, the leaves fall off. So this will be a hive activity now. Spring is coming. So this is going to feed all our plants here. We're one of the primary sites for wild orchids. And this hazel grows at a very slow rate. So you see this hazel? Yeah, but you see all the fungi on it. Yeah. Because the soil is so low, this is very old. So this doesn't follow normal hazel. I was actually asked by Jeremy Turpentine to collect the hazel here because there's large hazelwoods dying out. Because hazel doesn't breed with itself. It has to be 8 generations removed. Yeah. So this hazel could be, I was over here during the autumn collecting my hazel, or the nuts, and they're being propagated now to try and save hazelwoods in Wicklow and the Burn and all around the country.
And is it growing so slowly because of the thin soil?
Correct. Now you have it, yes. So everything is slowed down here. All the plants here have developed in a community. So we have basically no invasive species here, and we're terrified of them coming in, because invasive species are a big problem in the Burn and all over Ireland. Industrialising farming is if you industrialise your farming techniques, you're going to lose your biodiversity.
And how have farmers in this area coped with that?
Because first of all, it works with the landscape. Because if you remove the soil, you'll have nothing. It's closed during the summer, and it's like the burn. It's our winterage, and it works, and it makes good economic sense.
And for anyone who might not be familiar with the concept of winterage, could you explain it for us, please?
Well, the winterage is basically the cattle are put here for the winter, and they graze it down, and actually the more you can graze it, the better for the plants and insects to come back during the summertime. Yeah. So it allows them for biodiversity to work here during the summer, and then this our winter crop again. And this is what this land was in use for thousands of years. I referred to the Queen Maeve story earlier on. People would have used this. This was used as a dry lie for storing the cattle for the whole region. So there's a tradition here, a very long tradition of this activity going on, going back maybe BC. So nature and nature has worked with the farmer. So it's used to this whole technique.
On our drive here, you were describing, the farmer whose land and farm had flooded.
That can happen maybe every 78 years. We might get an extra high turlock.
And how have other farmers in the area of Roscommon responded? You kind of came with this newfound awareness of the karst landscape. Were there other farmers who had a similar level of knowledge?
People came to me and said that if they knew what they had, they would have never removed it. Yeah. Yes. But like I said, once it's gone, it's gone. Now this tree here could be 400, 500 years old. So this could be in here during the famine.
And the stone walls, like how old would they be?
Well, in the burn they have them regional walls. So we think that could be one of them regional walls like in the burn. They are extremely old as well. They're in some of the old maps. So you can see the age in the tree. What stories can that tree tell you? It's just majestic. We call it the old man or the old lady. Do you see it? And this is where all our fairies tales, legends come from. Our most important national treasure that was found under one of these trees. If you're looking for history, if you're looking for nature, just take a look there.
What were the actions that resulted in the removal of the...
Well, they cleared the land because they were encouraged. It was actually, like, it was deemed to be progressive farming. Like, it was like the bog, like it was deemed to be, to get me?
Yeah. Do you mean in terms of the drainage or in terms of the scrub, the land?
Well, since school we've been told about Denmark and how the Danes are able to make such... To get me about industrialising your farming, to get me to show, and that's how everyone was encouraged. So, like, it wasn't the farmers; it was actually national policy. It was government policy to carry out them processes. To get me, so it's not the farmer; it's what the farmer was encouraged to do.
Now that policy is kind of slowly but surely, moving towards nature-friendly farming, will some of those areas be able to be kind of conserved again, so that it'll take a long time for them to recover? But are there actions being taken?
If you have a Mona Lisa and you tear it up, you can't really put it back together. Like what the hoping is, there really should be an EAP, and maybe let nature expand, like and maybe like work with them areas that are cleared. To get me, to allow the plants to grow. To get me, but you'll never get back to the real thing because you have it lost. So like it's like bog. If you've got virgin bog and you cut it, you're never going to get bog back.
People might wonder how this limestone formed in the first place.
Well, I can tell you that it was actually GS Ireland. This area of South Roscommon was actually an island at the equator, and it moved inch by inch, and it landed here in South Roscommon because Ireland was made up of a number of islands, and they came together, and the peatland in were probably low-lying lakes, and they drained out, and that was the start of your peatlands. So this was an island. You can see it. So this was at the equator at one stage.
And that's with the shallow seas and all of the plants and animals and shells that had sunk down to the bottom.
Correct. Yeah, that formed the island in the region. So this, I think, it's 336 million years old. Wow. This part of Roscommon is, and it was at the equator. I think at a national level, like, there should be a full study done on what are the major impacts on a turlock in South Roscommon. Sky Valley has a massive turlock as well, and we're terrified these turlocks will get blocked, and there doesn't seem to be any government policy on them. In relation to how important they are. There's areas where the cattle are gone in to get me for the wintertime grazing, and that's a massive floodplain there below us. And we have another floodplain the other side of us. Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? Did you think when you're coming in that you see anything like this?
It's stunning, and really is.
It is stunning, yeah. Now we're going down to a doling gate. That's why I'm bringing you this direction. Now we have over 15 different types of wild orchid here, maybe more. And like, they're a premier indicator of how important the area is, to get me. We have lichens, we have moss, so you have a huge community of plants.
And those orchids, can you tell me a little bit more about the ecology of those?
Yeah, an orchid takes 15 years to go from seed to flower. That's a big time investment. Yes. So we've been farming orchids here and not getting recognised for it. We provide an ecosystem for them orchids to survive if you turn around and you close the gate here, you'd lose your orchids. It's the farming practices that are going on there that are keeping the orchids in the area. So it's the microfungi that's operating underneath Kate that's keeping the whole thing, do you get me? So it's basically, there should be really good educational art programs linking in with local farmers to highlight this at a national level, how important it is.
And do you mean, in terms of the farming practices, do you mean the traditional grazing of the winterage? Is that what encourages these orchids to thrive here?
Yes, it would, yeah. Because if you let the scotchgrass take over, your orchids won't. Because it's the secret to this area is the way it's been farmed, and it's a traditional farm that the locals. But it's been deemed as being old-fashioned, and it's actually very modern the way we're doing it. You get me? So
Sometimes it's going back to the old ways that's forward thinking.
no, Kate, yeah, that is a very good saying. You're on the money. Now, actually, I'm in talks now. I'm in talks of getting a special sheep in to graze some of the scotchgrass. So we're hoping to get a pilot scheme on that going.
And what sort of sheep is that now?
They're kind of a mixture between a goat and a sheep. National Parks recommended it. That's the doling now. So the water that's caught there ends up in that turlock that I showed you. So it can rain here for 40 days and 40 nights. But this, if that turlock if that doling got damaged, this could be a lake of water overnight. So you could lose all this infrastructure here.
And so for people who might not be familiar with the phrase doling, how does it work?
Well, doling is actually a massive cave, and what happens is the roof of the cave collapses. So what's happened is that was a massive cave, and the roof fell in. So the water, there's another cave under that now again. They get me, So there are funnels to take in the water. So the water's been funneled into that tunnel, and that's our drinking water. So this is where the drinking water for South Roscommon is coming out.
And then it moves through the karst landscape underneath.
Yeah, out to the turlocks, and that's called, because people look at turlocks and don't wonder where they're coming from. This is where it's coming from.
So in a way, they're kind of opposites. The water goes into the doling and comes out the turlock.
Correct, but actually the priority area is actually the doling, with the catchment, because the turlock is too late if it's tampered with, because if it's tampered at source, you can never get it back. So if you tamper with that funnel, the turlock is damaged forever. Yeah, so this is where the story of your fairies and all your legends of the underworld, because they knew the activities. Can you imagine you come over here some morning and you see a half a mile of a doling opening up?
And we were talking earlier about Queen Maeve and the story there and the goddesses, and Nicola was also discussing St. Bridget and the wells, and maybe you can just elaborate on those now that we're in the landscape.
But there's your open karst now you were talking about. And I'll take it down to some fissures on the far side. So there's your open karst. So that's how you know you're on a karst landscape. You won't see that in the fields of Mead.
Yeah, it's very shallow soil, very shallow, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and so it deems that we have to be very careful what we do. And like it has a huge range of plants. Yes. That could be 400 or 500 years old. Well, basically what happens is the ant picks a stone and he takes a small bit of clay and he puts it in his mouth and he puts it there. And then he puts another one and he builds a base. Then he picks thyme and the seed and he sows it, and the thyme grows and he lives off the root of the thyme. And so what you got is the ants have developed a complete infrastructure and not harming nature, and we as humans can't do that. So the ants, and then you got all the other species coming in. So we have massive anthills here that can be 400 or 500 years. So we're talking about doing a project to actually document what anthills we have, and then geotag them. See where is the nearest place where you've got anthills like this. They reckon something like that could take 400 or 500 years, because it takes a long time for an ant to bring a bit of clay up in his mouth. But the ant is so in time, so he knows, and he's living off, and then that's a colony then for other plants to get me. So that's the formation of good soil. So that's the way soil was formed originally.
Maybe just looking at this rock here, could you explain again how the formation of the karst landscape works?
Well, basically, I actually have one over the far side for you. Basically what happens is the water hits here, it forms here and it melts the rock. So this is going down to the earth. So you've got a cross section of what's going on underneath. So you have massive caves and dikes holding massive amounts of water. And again here, that was all one rock and the water has split. So this is a perfect example of what karst is. So you see the water has melted these down, so they go for miles into the earth.
I think what's really unique is that, when people hear, oh, it melts, or how is this happening? That we think of water as this really neutral substance, but actually it is kind of slightly acidic, and it takes in that carbon dioxide and turns into carbonic acid. And so then that's what dissolves the calcium carbonate that's in the limestone here, and it forms these fissures, yeah.
Could take millions of years to form. So to remove that would be criminal, you can imagine, to get me. Now this area is steeped in mythology as well.
Oh, it looks like a face.
Yes, correct. And there's an altar, or a little place where you leave an offering. So if me and you have copped that back in the day, anything that looked like a human, and Finn McCool is referenced as this area the whole time. Now, when I was a child, this place would spook me. We were always warned not to come here. So as kids, we wouldn't come down here. We were afraid. People could be coming here for thousands of years, paying homage to this. Our folklore has been lost because when the famine came in, they get me. So this area, probably, back pre-famine, probably had huge reverence because this is where all the hazel for all the houses. So people knew about this, to mine these woods. These woods are here since the 4th century. These are talked about in the 4th century as brio wood. Yeah. So it's because hazel was the most important for your scalps, for doing your thatch. Hazel was a primary source, and these are hazel woods. They're not to be got anywhere else. To get me. So these woods were vast. There was 4,000 acres of these woods, and this is the primary area for your hazel. So people would be very conscious of keeping this, because if you didn't have hazel, you couldn't have thatch. So people come in here, cut your hazel. So if it was, and also this is cool during the summer and warm during the winter. Now, as I said, we're not up for walks and trails because the area is too precious, to get me, and we're not into like make the green chilling, like trying to make a pound out with, to get me. If I want to put, you'd lose what here overnight by putting walks or trails in here, to get me. It's really to tap into the local community. Say, lads, thanks for what you have, and we'll try and work with you. And I think that's what you're trying to do with FarmPEAT as well, like to say, to get farmers on board. There's an economic value out of it, because like Brendan Dunphy was saying, like, you should be getting paid for your nature.
And so there's this landscape feeding into the River Suck then?
Oh yes. And it's interacting with the peatlands as well, because I'm going to take you over the ridge now and you're going to see a massive raised bog. Now, you're looking for a diagram nature provides. This is us standing here at the well. This could be Clegnan Wells. And this is the way the water, and look at the fissures go. And see, they go for miles in every direction. So any interference with that underground, you could have massive effects, and maybe the water comes out down here to give us the drinking water. So this could be your doline here, and it's travelling down, going for miles, and you can't work out where you're tapping in with. So you leave good enough alone. Yep. And I'm blessed, I can hear this every morning. I walk through here every morning herding my cat. I see this is known now, see, we're safe in here. This is known as a sanctuary. Yeah. So people knew this is a refuge. So back when England was persecuting us, the Irish could hide here. We could come in here and we could survive. The English couldn't get in here at us. Like, where's home, Kate? Get your GPS. Try getting out here to see. You can't get out. And look at the linear wall minding the doline. Because they understood. Like, so like they had the knowledge, and we.
It's relearning some of that wisdom now.
Now, and tapping back into it, because we have technology. Like, we've thrown away a lot of really good ideas as well to get me, you know. That wall was built in 1306. There's a famous story to St. Grinham in Ballinasloe, and he's pushed across America for the ground to open up and an army to fall into it. And the only place that can happen is in a doling. What actually probably happened was a doling opened up and swallowed him, and he took the credit. And there's a beautiful stained glass in Ballinasloe representing. This is what the area looked like before man got involved with it. So you couldn't travel through here. Now I let that grow up for shelter for my cattle. Yeah. So during the winter my cattle can go in and lie down there. So I have a natural shed, you get me? This is the way the country looked. Not them green fields, they're false reputation of what we have. There was 4,000 acres of this at one stage, right? And in less than 100 years we're down to 30%, so we're down to a tipping point. And much more of it is taken away. We could lose the whole ecosystem. Now my cattle were in here, and you see they're grazing this down, you see this scutch grass, because that's what stops them plants and fauna coming next year, to get me. And the EIP will be great, you know, for us to really know how to do that in a nice way, to get me. Because without education we're lost as well, to get me. This is the sea fin. The River Shannon is just beside that, over that ridge there. We can see, I think it's 7 or 8 counties from here. You can straight into Galway, like Loughrea. When you were driving into Top McCon, you should see signs, Carth's landscape of South Roscommon. So you see where our rhyme and reason's coming from. Yeah. We're coming from a very good point. So we have a Druids, what do you call it when the Druids all come together? A Druids wood. So the Druids would gather around that and pray. And maybe the Irish should do it in the later years then. Because this goes back BC. So you can see it's been cleared. So this was used for some purpose. You can clearly see it's been marked out. So this could be where they came, to get me. And they were safe. But Christianity probably took a lot of that out of it, to get me. You can see it here, we've held on to it. And you see how peaceful it is. Like, you could meditate here. This water can come all the way up here, Kate. So you see the farmer has this road built, trying to see the way the road runs. It's hard to believe that the water can come up out of the ground in that force, to get me. So now I was in here around here, this is all, there's no water here at all. That wall is completely, look at the wildlife now. So we're walking on top of water here, like this is all water underneath us here. We, like you said, we have an idea of land, you get me? But so a turlock is very mysterious because it can come and go, you get me? The doling is feeding this, yeah. Right, the doling that we see here, the water that's going to is rising there and it's going under and heading to the collecting wells.
Thank you to Liam and Nicola for sharing their story of the unique karst landscape in South Roscommon and how the Celtic Eye Art Group communicate the importance of conserving it through signs and talking animations of paintings of Irish goddesses. They also bring land and art together with the local community through events at Talkmconnell Hall, showing the importance of coming together and sharing knowledge to create wider change. You can find out more about the work of the Máíne Kingdom Group by clicking the links in the video description. Thanks for listening.